Good morning, SCG colleagues. I'd like to update you about the situations of the COVID-19. I will also talk about the reopening and also the second wave. Worldwide, cases now is over 12.5 million cases, with over 560,000 deaths. US is still number one with more than 3.2 million cases and more than 135,000 deaths. Situation in the US is quite worrying. A lot of states, particularly in the southern states, has really shown the big jumps in terms of the total number of the infections. And the total number is growing on a daily basis. Number two is still Brazil, with over 1.8 million cases. And the South America is still considered the center of the pandemics. Number three now is India. The total cases in India is 800,000 cases. And we're still seeing exponential growth in the country. So South Asia is another hotspot at this point. Within ASEAN, my concern is still with Philippines and Indonesia. The infection cases are still showing high trend in terms of the number of the infection. The number of infection in these two countries is still growing and still showing that the stage of the COVID-19 is still in the first wave of the crisis. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking in terms of the second wave. I think a good example is the case of South Korea or China, which both countries have been successful in terms of the flatten the first wave. And then the second wave hit. That's why you see that the government of these two countries took a very precautionary measures in order to lock down some part of the country or some part of the cities. Another good example is Australia, where the government successful in terms of flatten the first wave, and then the second wave hit. That's why some part of the country right now is locked down, and government have prohibited people from going outside of home. So the situation in the US and South America is really not the second wave. The country is still in the first wave, where the number of the infection cases are still growing. For Thailand, I think we are now over close to 50 days of the no local transmission. So the situation in Thailand is considered very good, similar to what's going on in Vietnam. As for our company, SCG, reopening of Bang Sue headquarters started a week ago, and so far so good. We are averaging 2,700, 2,800. Yesterday was around 3,000 employees per day on our campus at this point. So looks like everyone is still practicing the physical distances and also wearing masks. So I think the situation so far is so good. Elsewhere in ASEAN, the Philippines and Indonesia offices are still work at home. The rest of the countries in ASEAN have reopened, and we are now operating under the concept of the hybrid workplace. I guess the question that a lot of you probably ask is, what's next? When do we return to normal? I think if you look around yourself, in the office, within the country, wherever you are, and outside of your country, I think you can see that the situation, although in some places, calmed down. But a lot of worry is still with the second wave. And if you look at countries like the US, India, or South America, situation is very much getting worse. So for sure, we must learn to live with COVID at least for a year. Given that we have to live with COVID and work with COVID situations like this for another year, I think it's also important to note that a lot of projects that we still carry on, we have to resume. We cannot say, well, because of COVID, so we stop this for a while. We wait until the COVID situation is clear. Particularly all the improvement or the focus area improvement projects, those will have to be resumed and continued. Which means that with this hybrid workplace, we have to move to the next phase, which is reviewing our work content. In order to do that, we also have to look at our work procedures, and also at the same time, yourself and also your supervisors, we also have to take a look at the performance management system as well. This is what we have to do after re-entering. So this change is going to be very challenging for you all. On one hand, you have to adjust yourself with the hybrid workplace. For the two countries in Philippines and Indonesia, where we're still operating at home mostly, we have to work under the challenging situations of the COVID-19. At the same time, we have to look at our work content, we have to adjust our work procedures, and we also have to give the input in terms of the performance management system. So this is going to be a very challenging time for all of us. But I do believe that this is something that we can do. Surviving the COVID-19 is very, very much more difficult, and we still are able to do it. So I think adapting and making sure that our work can be carried on and even improve in terms of efficiencies is going to be easier than surviving the COVID-19. In summary, COVID situation globally has become more worrying. Although the death rate is declining, but the US, South America, and South Asia has become another hotspots. Apart from Indonesia and Philippines, hybrid workplace at the initial stage is smooth. We are now in the second stage of the hybrid workplace, which is to review, redesign our work content and work procedures, as well as the performance management system. This is a challenge, but it's something that we can get involved. And I'm sure that we will be successful, just like we are successful in terms of surviving the COVID-19. Lastly, I would like to remind you that your health is important. Important to me and also important to everyone. And for our company to continue to serve our customers, your health is very, very important. So make sure that as much as you can, wearing masks, physical distancing, using hand sanitizations, and at the same time, if you can, avoid or limit getting into the social gathering or public space where there are a lot of people. That's something that I would like to leave it to everyone. Thank you.